It's fair to say that a tennis court is quite big for one person to cover all by themselves. But how can we make it easier? That's why we need to recover.
All your recovery is once you've hit your shot, regardless of what shot it is, forehand, backhand, serve, volley, it's your movement after that shot to get you into a position that's going to make you the most effective when hitting your next shot. The biggest misconception that I usually hear is when players are told to get back to the middle. And well, they're half right. They're just missing a little bit of key information. That little bit of information is that you should be stood in the middle, but in the middle of your opponent's hitting zone. And all the hitting zone is, it's the furthest 2 points that your opponent can hit the ball away from you. So, as you can see here, the two furthest points that the opponent can hit the ball away from you is down the line and then a cross-court angled shot. This then shows if you did stand in the middle of the court, you could cover quite easily the down the line ball, but if the ball was hit back cross-court, you'd struggle to cover all of that side of the court. This is why you should therefore stand just off to the opposite side of which you hit the ball on. So if you hit the ball over towards the right-hand side, you need to stand slightly to the left-hand side. This is because when your opponent hits that cross-court ball, yes, that ball has to land inside the court, but the direction it's been hit, it will travel out of the court, which means you've got more ground to cover. The example here is that I'm having a cross-court battle with someone on the other side. They've struck a ball cross-court, so I need to go out and get it. Now, my recovery position hasn't been determined until I've struck this next shot. This is why it makes more sense when you are having a rally with someone that you hit the ball cross-court, because there's less distance for you to recover back to a position where you can cover all of the court. After I've hit that ball cross-court, if my opponent did decide to hit the ball down the line, I'm still able to cover that area of the court, as I've recovered to a position where I'm just off to the centre, which means I can cover both the down the line ball and the cross-court angle if needed. Now what about if I change the direction of the ball and hit down the line? Considering I've hit the ball down the line, it is now up to me to get onto the other side of the court so I can still cover both areas. This links into why hitting the ball down the line or just generally changing the direction of the ball is much more risky than hitting the ball back cross-court. The theory behind this is that when I hit that ball down the line, my recovery position is slightly on the other side of the court. This is so that I remain in the middle of both of the furthest points that my opponent can hit away from me. The problem here is that I've got a greater distance to recover back to than if I'd hit the ball cross-court. This means that my down-the-line shot has to be effective. If it isn't, I've got a greater area to cover in probably a shorter space of time from when my opponent hits the ball. This means I'm probably going to be unprepared for my next shot and it's going to put the rally into my opponent's favour. As well as this, it's also going to make it more obvious for where my opponent can hit the ball that's going to cause me the most problems. By me standing on one side of the court exposing the other area, it gives them an easy decision to hit the ball further away from me and make my shot a lot harder to deal with. So to summarise, when you're at the back of the court in your matches, you must try and recover back to slightly off-centre, but the opposite side to what you hit the ball on. So if you hit the ball to the right-hand side, stand slightly off to the left, and vice versa. However, it's all well and good being able to do this, but if you do it too slowly, you're not going to see the benefit of having that recovery in the first place. If you recover too slow, you're not going to have enough time to prepare yourself for the next shot. That's why for me, when I'm playing my matches, I ideally want to be back in my ready position and my recovery done by the time that ball bounces on my opponent's side of the court. That way I've got enough time to get ready for my next shot without feeling rushed. But then what do you do for your recovery when you're at the net? Well, everything that you know about your recovery at the baseline, completely forget it, because it's nothing like it. Whenever we talk about approaching the net, we always suggest that you've got a better success rate and more likely to make your volley if you approach down the line. But why is this? The rule to follow when you're at the net and looking for a place to recover is whatever side you hit the ball on, you must stand slightly to the same side that you hit that ball. This is unlike the rule when you're at the back of the court where you stand slightly on the opposite side to where you hit the ball. The reasoning for this is because you're dealing with a completely different set of angles. Whereas before at the back, the ball can bounce, and if it bounces in the court and it's going cross court, the ball can bounce in and then travel out of the court. This is why we stand slightly to the opposite side to which we hit the ball on, so we can cover this angle. You're less likely to get a ball that's going to bounce in front of you when at the net and travel outside the court. So, if you applied the same rules that you use at the back of the court when at the net, you can see that standing on the opposite side leaves the down the line shot exposed. This makes it more obvious for your opponent to know where to hit the ball to cause you the most amount of pain. This then leads on to my original question: why should we hit down the line on our approach shots instead of cross court? As you can see here, if I hit a ball down the line, it's a shorter distance to get to my recovery position. If I were to hit the ball cross court, I've got a longer distance to get to the position where I can cover all of the court. This means I'll have less time to prepare, meaning I might not be ready to hit my next shot. Also, by getting into position late, it could make it more obvious for my opponent where to hit the ball to make me miss my shot. A match scenario could be this: you've approached the ball down the line and you've recovered well. Your opponent is now going to try and pass you down the line as well. So what you'd want to try and do is then hit the ball into space, so you're hitting cross court. But this means you're going to have to change your recovery position after you've hit the ball. So, if I apply the rules of where to recover to when we're at the net, I've hit the ball over to the left-hand side. This means that my recovery position should be just off to the left of the centre of the court. This means that I can cover all of the court within 2 steps. As you can see here, if the ball is hit down the line or cross court, I'm equal distance away. So, to summarise your volley recovery position, whatever side you hit the ball on, stay slightly on that side. So if you hit the ball to the right hand side, stand slightly on the right. If you hit the ball to the left, stand slightly on the left. This is the complete opposite to what you should be doing at the back of the court. The reason being is because you're able to cut off each of those angles if you stand slightly to the same side. Easiest way to think about it is you've got to imagine that you're a goalkeeper in football. Wherever side that ball goes to, the goalkeeper always moves over to that side. That's so they can cut off any angle that the other person could get the ball past them. It's exactly the same in tennis. So, to summarise, I'd argue, looking around at the club that I work at, and other clubs and other players that I've seen at club level, the recovery is one thing that I think most people need to improve on. If you get it right, it makes the game so much easier and you'll feel like you have so much more time than what you did before. But you've got to make sure you do it properly. So when you're at the back of the court, whatever side you hit the ball on, stand slightly to the other side. When you're at the net, however, make sure you stand slightly on the same side of which you hit the ball. But importantly, when you're doing this, try and finish your recovery in good time. So for me, and what I'd recommend to everyone, is try and get back in your ready position by the time the ball has landed on your opponent's side of the court.